What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat, and we're here at Helgar's Hold, right where we left off in the previous episode, taking a look at some of the things that we really need to get a handle on in between, like, here in the next couple seasons. So we're in our 25th year. We're not doing too bad. I don't think there's a cutoff date for this game. Like, for example, if you're playing Tropico, like, there's a date at which it's like, guess what, you're not El Presidente anymore. And since we've pretty much got endless time on our hands, unless there's something that I don't know about, we need to kind of set limits for the series, I think. And I don't think I'm going to try and fill up the entire map, but I do think I'm probably going to play the game for a little while. I'll probably give you guys a good 20 or 25 episodes of Banished before we move on to something else. We do have Shadowrun coming up pretty soon, which is getting me excited. I do want to play the DLC. I've been rubbing my hands together excitedly. I've had sweaty palms. I've been feeling quite clammish. I've always wondered how clams felt about the fact that we take, like, if you're feeling clammy, it's always considered like a negative thing. And I think that clams really kind of value their existence. And so if I was a clam, I'd be like, well, why is something negative like named after me? I feel like I need a lobbyist or something in order to change this. But then again, I don't think clams really think thoughts. But then again, what do I know about anything? Clam sentience? Subject that is far outside the realm of anything that I might be able to kind of ponder on a daily basis. We've been getting a lot of traders. And our initial goal for the last little while has been to kind of fill up this sheep farm. We haven't had the money or the supplies to do it, but we're finally in a position where we have enough coats over here, and we have enough tools to where I think the next time the trader comes through with some sheep, we should be able to be like, wham, bam, thank you for the sheep, sir. It didn't rhyme like I wanted it to. I was going to try and make it work, but our trader appears to be male for the most part. I don't think there's... I don't know. It's one of those jobs that really hasn't experienced that modern renaissance in swapping of the sexes for the people that are doing it. It's medieval times. What are you going to do? Let's have a look. And on this side, this wood chopper seems to be doing a pretty good job at getting rid of all... God, we are still just dropping off way too rapidly on logs and firewood. So what I think I'll do is let's put a wood chopper in, like, maybe right over here, to kind of help out with this weird situation that we're having where we just can't keep firewood on hand. This game is like an endless struggle of, like, you have everything you need and then you have nothing that you need, just over and over and over again. And I don't know whether it's because my villagers are lazy and they just don't get the job done in any sort of efficient fashion, or if it's because they're greedy. In any case, I'm trying to assign, like, negative... It's really, there are negative connotations to just about everything my villagers do, because I really don't feel like they function at the level I need them to. But we'll just keep on persevering because I can't change that. And the things that you can't change, you really just kind of have to bang your head against and just endure. That's really, you just gotta work on that perseverance and that diligence. Once we get this built, we've got enough builders going on right now. We've got 8 laborers, so we're gonna assign 1 right there. We could also think about wiping out this forest right here and making a bridge, and maybe putting some fishing lodges out here, which would be really kind of incredible. Or I could be really efficient and put a bridge over this way and do it like so. I don't know. All these weird creative things coming to mind that I just haven't gotten around to as of yet, because the last couple episodes have been spent trying to make sure that we don't freeze to death. Let's go 1 more choppa. And since our log supply is not waning, but our firewood supply is, oh good, we've got another trader. And he's got bean seeds for us. Strangely enough, we can't really trade for those, so I'm going to dismiss him right away so that we can get somebody else here quickly. It's always a good idea if he doesn't bring something that you want to tell him to just, like, go to hell and send him off down the river. Literally, he sent him down the river. That's where he goes. Or he could be going up the river, but I assume that would take a lot more upper body strength. I don't know how strong the trader is. I figure the merchant has got to be a pretty beefy guy, considering he comes up and down the river all the time. I think that may be what I do for food here. We've got a little bit of a food problem. And so let's build ourselves a bridge down to this little, well, I don't know, peninsula looking thing. And we may try to put a fishing lodge, like, out here, or if we really got good, we could put it right there, and it would just be incredible. It would probably be very, very good for us if we could get that done. And that'll give us something else to deforest, too. So let's go ahead and take a look at our bridge. And I think what I'd like to do is go like that. That's going to take us 68 wood. That's a pretty expensive bridge. But I think the potential payoff, once we forest all of this, we get rid of all those goodies right there. I think the potential, we'll probably get it all back in doing that. We'll also give our foresters something else to work on. We need to use up some laborers because we're sitting at a high volume of people who are really just idle at the moment, and I need to give them jobs. We could go and try and start educating people, but since we're sitting on the edge of efficiency right now, our food is dropping off, as is both our firewood and our logs. I think it's probably in the better interest of our long-term survival to start hitting these little projects one by one. So we've got a lot of laborers right now. We'll turn those in. We'll have 6 left over. And maybe think about putting another fisherman down here. We'll have a road that runs along, so a fisherman right there. Maybe a fisherman right here, and we'll just see what that does for us. Give him a storage barn right here just for fish or whatever. Maybe not. Maybe I'll make him walk it. I don't know. I wish there was designated haulers in this game, like people, so that basically when you have like your firewood guy, he wouldn't have to run his own firewood. I wish that, maybe that's what laborers do. I'll have to look it up. But really, laborers, I consider them to be the guys that kind of do your bitch work and your grunt work. But maybe they do haul stuff. I've never paid attention to a laborer long enough to figure out if they haul things or if they're simply used to like deforest and annihilate the natural world. Let's go ahead and wipe out all of this right here. This is going to be our next big project. Make sure we just kill everything in our vicinity. And this is going to be a nice little infusion of logs for the future. And then from there, we're going to go to our food menu, and we'll see if we can't drop a fishing dock. Ooh, it would be so nice to put one like right there. Look at that right there. That would be... I don't think I've ever seen a fishing spot as good as that. That's a really good place to put a fishing dock. So let's go ahead and drop that in now. These two shouldn't affect each other, because this is using a different body of water to get his job done. And I'll try and space them out pretty widely. I mean, our fishermen tend to spend a lot of time spaced out anyways because they just keep puffing on that magical Helgar's Holdro. Like, they just can't stop doing it. Our herbalist does very, very good business here. I mean, our herbalist is walking around. She's got, like, a blingy chain. She's definitely getting down with her bad self. Like, I think she just put, like, a second massive payment down on her mortgage. She's living in this massive house, like, on the top of this mountain. You can't even see it because she was able to buy a cloaking device. That's how rich she is. In the 1500s, cloaking device for her house so that she can't be robbed anymore. Because, honestly, everybody was eyeballing her in a suspicious fashion. And if I was her, I would have bought a cloaking device, too. What can you do in that situation aside from adapt? We've got another trader coming in, which is good. What you got for me? He's got a bunch of random stuff. Just a ton of random things. All of which aren't looking particularly... I mean, we could trade off some of our food, which is nice. For the first time, we can trade food, so that's cool. So I may actually take everything on the side that he has. So we'll go with like 16 of these. And then we'll probably buy up all of his leather, too. Because why not? And that'll put us at a total of 570. And I think that's really... We've got... I mean, if he'll trade pumpkin, we can really take everything that he has here just in order to kind of diversify our stocks. Yeah, and so after a brief moment of thought and also picking up my little tiki timer that keeps track of my episodes, I think that's what I'll do. We can get pecan seeds, actually. Pecan trees would be nice. Let's maybe adapt in that fashion, because from what I understand about orchards, after this episode I'll have to look up how orchards work, but from what I understand about orchards, you chop the trees down too, so it's a long-term wood supply as well. It works the same way it does in Nemoria, where you harvest the trees, then you chop them down, and that's pretty much like your endless supply of birch or whatever it is. I just said 2,500 seeds. We'll take one packet of seeds, and so that's going to unlock, let's do 1,700 right here, and no, I'm not going to click upwards on all of these. We'll do 700 from there. And we'll also... He's got wool coats. His wool coats are really, really cheap. So I think what we'll do is we'll swap those out so that we have more valuable things. So we're going to take his 16 wool coats. We're going to take as much of his leather as we can. And then we're going to swap it out for our hide coats. And then we need 70 additional, so that means we need like 9 of these. But then he's going to get the better deal on us. Disappointing, but we'll trade it. Let's go ahead and do it. And what we may be able to do, it's weird that the wool coats are worth so much less than the hide coats. So I may actually be making a bad trade right here. Let's not take the wool coats. Let's just take the leather for now. And we're overpaying at this moment. So we're overpaying by 170. Let's go ahead and lower that number by, I think we have to lower it by 11 or so. Oop, that was my bad. We need to lower it to 29, I think. I hit the wrong key here if I could type properly. There we go. We're overpaying a little bit, but I think we can even it out with like some peaches or something. Yeah, let's just get some corn. Nobody here is used to corn, so this will be like this new magical thing. They'll be like, "Can we chew on this, my lord?" And I'll be like, "Yes, chew to your heart's content, but don't eat the middle part. Like the middle part, leave it alone." And so we should be good. Let's make the trade. And now I think what we'll do is let me lower these amounts, because what they're going to do now is they're going to try and restock this area, and in restocking they may really kind of hurt our stockpiles. So let's go ahead and just keep 1,000 pumpkins on hand. We'll zero that out so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm going to allow them to restock the tools. I'm going to allow them to restock. I don't think I messed with my tools at all, so that's fine. And now we may want to start thinking about other mining operations too, considering how many extra laborers we have. So let's figure out a place where we can drop a new mine. Unfortunately, we can't work it in right there. God, these mountains suck. These mountains are absolutely awful. Like, the random world generator really just kicked us in the nuts on this one. Or it credit carded us, if I wanted to be more friendly to everybody involved. So that gives us a mine right there. But simultaneously, we don't have a blacksmith to work this mine. So it's going to be a long walk for anybody to get some tools. This mountain's looking a little bit more agreeable to a mining operation. In fact, we may be able to fit two. So let's start a mining operation over here. And I'll carve out a little road. And once they've built that... God, I don't even know. What is this? A crop field has developed an infestation? How do I solve that? I'm not even positive how I deal with that. Well, hopefully they don't infest our sheep. That would be unpleasant. Our sheep are all standing over here like, it doesn't eat me, does it? Being all nervous, but I think they'll probably be okay. With regards to everything being built, I think it paused my game on me. Yeah. I don't know what this infestation is going to cause. It looks like it cancels your harvest. And so I think it's really probably a good thing that we canceled all of the restocking that we were seeing down at this location. Oh, we've got another trader. Did I forget to dismiss him? I forgot to dismiss him. Well, let's get rid of him. And this may be an equitable time to re-diversify some of the things that we've been working on. Actually, so where is this functioning at? It's kind of functioning in a small radius. I don't think I can start any more crops off in this direction. We've got this mashed out down here. Oh wow, they haven't even gotten on it yet. Okay, well let's give ourselves some more builders because obviously we've got a huge surplus of labor right now. And if we can speed up the process by any means, we might as well. Houses are still looking semi-vacant, so there's going to be a lot of shared space. I'm not going to worry about building any further houses for now. Everyone appears to be housed and clothed and tooled and otherwise employed aside from these 15 people right here. We could start training people, but at the moment, I want to be stable. Like, I really want to be in a point where I'm really stable on food, I'm really stable on everything. And as of right now, that stability has just not been forthcoming with enough of a frequency for me to really feel comfortable. Alright, so we'll build ourselves a bridge right there, and we're going to try and get into this land of milk and honey that we were discussing from earlier. And if we can really turn this into, like, amazing farmland, if we can really kind of rally this to our cause, I think we'll be in amazing, amazing shape. I think I'm going to do with this... Let's go ahead and add 6 more workers so that there's 9 at each. And I may actually make that a coal mine. Because I think the efficiency problem that we're looking at right now is it may be that steel tools would be something that are really going to help us adapt to the future and make us work a little bit better with the things that we have. So I don't even know what coal looks like, but it appears as though we're carting in coal now. And where's my blacksmith at? So this blacksmith right here, sir, you're going to start making steel tools. And I think the steel tools are both more valuable and they last a lot longer. And that may be the reason why we're not able to pull up the surplus on tools that I've been hoping for in the last couple rounds. Now, unfortunately, there's no ticky box up here that's going to let me know how much coal I have. So I could end up in a weird situation where I never have enough coal. But as it stands right now, breaking into the steel market is really something that I've been considering while I've been in my twilight hours. I've been kind of thinking about it after hours. I do that a lot. I think about all of these things that I do a lot when I'm not actually playing the game. And one of those things is that sometimes it works out. I don't know why my builders are always popping in and out. So since we only have a couple of builders actually building at the moment, 10 builders building or whatever if you wanted to make it sound Christmassy, let's go ahead and assign more people over to the fishery. We'll take a look at his efficiency right now. It's got to be pretty amazing once we get everybody all saddled in. I'm really hoping that these two don't sabotage each other. I've always run into kind of a weird optimization process when it comes to like the fishiness of the whole thing. Definitely something fishy going on whenever I use these. It seems like just fisheries become less and less efficient no matter where you put them or where they're fishing from. Like, it makes sense that if I put a fishery here and a fishery here, like they would be kind of feeding off of each other. On the other hand, oh, I suppose you can see the water flowing. So in the last episode when I was talking about him going upstream, I guess I was wrong. He's probably finding some other thoroughfare and then going around the horn in the ocean or something. I don't know. Don't really know how that would all work. It might be a smart decision to put one of our cattle ranches down here or something. Like a bigger area where we can make use of the things that we have. Squash seeds. I don't want those at all. Get the hell out of here. We already have squash. You are not welcome in this vicinity. Let's do a cattle farm in here, maybe. How big can a cattle farm be? Pretty large. That's a sizable field right there. It's going to cost us a lot of wood, though. And I assume it's probably going to gather up one of those it's going to have like that really weird sort of moo cow smell. I mean, I live in a place that has a load, like absolute, like there are so many just milk farms and things around here, dairy farms, that it pretty much reeks. Like if the wind is going the right direction, it's just like, oh my god. And so after I moved to college, that was one of those things that I had to get used to, is just like some summer days, it's just going to reek all day long to the point of just like eye-watering horrificness. I may also just reclaim this one right here. I don't think that's going to be efficient, to be honest. Part of me is wondering, I really wish that I could change, can I flatten this out at all? Let me look around for any sort of control that might allow me to flatten out a location. We're low on food, strangely enough. Interesting. Well, the harvest is almost in. So hopefully whatever they bring in will save us from this problem. Let's get going with deforesting this area, because that's usually have like one season before just horrible things start happening with regards to food. And so let's get people going on like the random jobs that need to be done. I want to have this ready so that whenever cows show up, we can make use of those. And they'll just bring things back to the stockpile over here. It may be in our best interest to put in another supply barn right here. I wish I could build a market on top of this this hill, but this hill is really kind of... Every time I try and develop something, we end up with just a nasty hill in the middle, and since the game doesn't allow you to terraform and like knock away hills, unless I'm wrong... I don't know what that does. We also haven't built a city hall, which is something to think about. I may build one of those pretty soon, too. There we go. So after our harvest, we have plenty of food. But we're definitely at that point right now where if we miss 2 harvests, like, and we end up in a spot where, for whatever reason, if we end up in a spot where we lose a harvest or anything else terrible happens that lowers our gathering efficiency, we're definitely going to be in a spot that is not going to be tenable. It's going to hurt us a lot. And so we could have a mass die-off if we're not careful, if we don't care about being careful about ourselves right now. Both words have care in them. I'm going to assume that they're both Care Bear endorsed. I should probably get rid of this pasture. And what we'll do is we'll declare this one a beef farm, although we got to wait for him to get back with anything that might be useful to us. He's got a bunch of iron tools, which isn't something that I'm stoked about. Like, that's not something that I really care in any respect about. Where's my blacksmith at? How is he doing on these steel tools? The only downside to him that I can see right now is perhaps that it might take a bit longer for him to make steel tools, which would then become a problem. One of the big designation issues you run into eventually when you're kind of running these operations is that because you can't make stockpiles. So for example, stockpiles in this game appear to not be, you can't be like, I only want coal to go here. And so what I would like to do is actually redesignate a lot of these so that they would hold very specific things. So for example, these 2 right here would only hold coal because both of my blacksmiths are within the region of them. And so I feel like that would work out in my favor a little bit better. However, I don't have that option available. And so alas, I find myself in this weird spot where villagers are really kind of running around doing incredibly inefficient things. Is this my only blacksmith? It says I have 2. Where's my other one? So I have a guy right there. My second blacksmith. There's probably a key to do this more efficiently, but I'm feeling incredibly lost at the moment. I should probably pan around just to make sure that I'm not missing. Where in the hell is my other blacksmith? I thought he was over here somewhere, and I'm not seeing him now. Tailor, blacksmith. I have 2 people assigned to the job, but do I actually have 2 jobs available? Let me go back to my blacksmithing. 2 of 2. It's eluding me, which is not very kind of it. It could at least be forthcoming. Oh, he's right there. Okay, well, let's have him do steel tools as well then. So I may be kind of messing with myself here, and we'll have them both do steel tools. And what I'm hoping is that if the steel tools do indeed last longer, the benefit that we'll see here is that for a little while we'll have a deficit of tools, but shortly thereafter, what we'll have is kind of this jump off. I'm going to trade some hide coats out right now for some extra tools, because they're only worth 8. And so we're overpaying by 60, which is actually, we'll go, I guess, 27 right here. And we'll just overpay at the moment, I guess. Or we'll take 1 wool to make that a little less painful. There we go, and then we'll dismiss him. So we don't have a tool shortage anymore. That'll get us through this dark period. So he showed up in a really good spot. That was one of those really opportune guys that shows up every now and again who's just perfectly planned. He's the guy that has a plan, and he is definitely there for you, man. We've got people running out of tools now, which is bad. But we do have a nice coal supply. Let's go ahead and lower our stock here on tools just to make sure that nothing bad happens. We'll go ahead and lower that by 40 because we're not trading at this given moment. And people will actually stop doing their jobs if they don't have tools, which is really kind of a horrific thing to have to face. Like, once you run into the spot where nobody can do their job because nobody has any tools, you should definitely start feeling a little bit apprehensive about the potential of you surviving the next couple seasons because you can't chop down trees, you can't make more tools, which is the big issue. If your blacksmith has no tools, you can't make any more, from what I've seen anyways, and it gets very, very scary. Now that we have this area cleared up here, I think it may be the time to start putting in a few more food gathering resources. And so I'm going to try and operate within the confines of this hilly area. Well, I may not be able to. That's the sad state of affairs, is that the possibility in this case is that I may have to... Yikes. Well, I think the time may be coming to knock out these 2 houses and put in the market. And we'll get rid of this distribution center. And that'll just have to be what it is. I've never played around with the market before, so that'll be a new experience for all of us. It may be incredibly inefficient. I may end up kind of hurting myself in that case, but it is something that I do want to fiddle around with. Are we out of iron? What's going on here, and why can't we keep our tools stocked? So we've got a little bit of iron left to be mined. Once we get done there, I may put in a secondary one over here. Since both of our blacksmiths are within reasonable range of this, I may put in another mine either here or here for our new iron mine once we get to that situation. But up until we're there, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's blaze out some of these houses, which don't say that too loudly because if we're following slang terms here, that might get them way too excited. I'm really waiting for cows to show up too. If we can get some more cows, I'll be happy. I think I'll bulldoze this with all likelihood to make space for something else. I don't know what I'm going to put right here, but I do feel like this is sort of a wasted space at the moment. I mean, I may put some sheep in there or something just to help out with wool, but how are we doing on leather right now? Not so amazing, so I think a cattle farm is definitely going to help us remedy that issue. We will take their hides. We will go up to the cow and say, "Sir, we need this." And the cow will be like, "That's totally cool. I don't need it anyway. It's kind of warm today." And then after we get the job done, he'll be like, "Oh my god, what have I adhered to? This is a terrible deal. This didn't work out for the cow at all." I'm sort of torn as to whether I should put in a couple of fields up here, or whether I should start with another gatherer's garden up in this region. It's a little bit scary. I don't really know what to jump off with right now. I think I'll start by grabbing as much iron out of this locality as I can. And then we'll cart that back to whatever stockpile is nearest. It looks like this one. So they could fill up on iron, which will really kind of streamline the process over here with this guy. Steel tools were up to 10 now, which is really, really nice. I'm glad that we've been moving up the tech tree. The scary thing about this game is there's always like that transitional period when you're playing where you don't really know if you transition between, say, like hunting and gathering, and then you transition over to gathering crops. When you make that jump, there's always that scary trepidation that kind of seems to sink in. It falls over you like a fog, that trepidity, I suppose, that makes you very, very nervous, because if the crops don't get planted or anything goes wrong, your entire city could die out in probably about a half a season. And the thing that's bad is once you have a mass die out, you lose your infrastructure, and so then you're caught like sitting here kind of reallocating people, making sure, trying to find that equilibrium by hand, which for the human mind is really kind of a trial and error process. It's difficult to find that equilibrium once you've been kind of booted out of it, because we've already found it by trial and error. We've already gone through that period in our lives together. So in the interest of moving on up, I really hope we don't have a die out soon. It's late summer, so I'm thinking that setting up crops over here is going to be too late for me. These guys are going to do their harvest pretty soon, which will absolutely, positively get us through the next season. Food isn't too much of a concern right now. I really feel like we've kind of struck a nice balance. By the end of this episode, I am feeling good about where we are right now. I think what I'll do is, with regards to those houses I was talking about building, I may build a few more down here, because we've got extra space, and so I don't see any real reason why we can't cram a few more people down into our little metropolitan area. Not to be confused with Neapolitan, which is delicious, delicious ice cream. I used to call it Napoleon ice cream, and I just figured it was because Napoleon ate it all the time. Napoleon seems like a kind of guy that would just like chill out eating ice cream, just banging out some ice cream every now and again when he's not in a good mood. I've also noticed that nobody, like whenever they do a portrait of like Napoleon, he never looks happy. Like all the land in the world, like crushing out an empire, and at the same time just looking grumpy all the time. Trying to get the house to face properly. Like the chimney does not go facing the road. There we go. I think I've got it faced with the door to the road now. Some of these buildings are faced kind of weird directions because I always want the door to the building to face the road. And unfortunately, while you do this stuff, it doesn't work like that. And then what we want to do is once those 4 houses are built, we're going to wipe out these 2 right here. We're going to put in a market just to see how that works for us. Because a distribution platform I think would be pretty nice right now, especially given the fact that we just have a massive surplus in workers. We have a lot of extra people running around. Iron is well stocked. Stone is reasonably stocked. I think we could probably get away with giving them 3 more workers so that stone piles up a little bit better. Oh, we do have coal. I wasn't paying attention at all. There it is. It's just in a different aisle. Okay, well, I'm sure... I don't know if I said that in this episode or the previous one, but if I said it, then there it is right there. Hopefully you guys called me out on it. This guy, he's got a bunch of food, so we're just going to dismiss him straight off because we have plenty of food. We'll be fine. And I'm really going to regret that trader if we do drop off really hard after this winter, but we seem to be stable at the moment. We don't appear to be in the market for any medication or anything. So let's maybe think about... Well, if we build up here, the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a reasonable stockpile because obviously I don't think the market is going to hit them over here. So what we'll need is we'll need stockpiles. So let's get a stockpile started right there, and we'll kind of build everything around that. And then once we've got that stockpile, we'll also get them started in kind of the preliminary stuff that you have to. When you make these little weird branches of your city where it's kind of like the outskirts and you're kind of expanding into new areas, you always start out by making a stockpile and making a storage barn because those are the things that really kind of matter when it all comes together. That's really kind of the material unit of the physics of your expansion. Not to throw large words around too ambitiously, because I always feel like a dick when I do it too much. Try and slow myself down a tad. And honestly, people have always been like, why do you use large words every now and again? I'm like, well, I think it's more just to keep myself practiced. Because I was really into literature when I first got into college. And I changed majors like 10 times, just so you know. Like, I've really taken about 2 years worth of classes in everything. So that's kind of put me in this weird position where I'm like a Van Wilder type individual on campus, except not of partying. It's kind of like the Van Wilder of studying. Somebody died. Died during childbirth. Disappointing. It should reallocate. I talked about this in a previous episode where I was disappointed about the fact that it didn't reallocate the people that I needed. Well, it will. I've done a little bit of research, and in my own travels, I have been playing my own games on the side. If you have extra laborers, it reallocates them automatically when people die. So that's kind of one of those misinformed things that I had said that I'll address now, just so that it never goes unsaid. And people are going to die. It's part of the process. I mean, it's been about 25 years. In fact, I think we should see a pretty large generational drop-off pretty soon. as far as kind of living and dying goes, just in general. Efficiency-wise, he doesn't appear to be doing any better than his neighbor over here. In fact, he seems to be doing worse, which leads me to believe that possibly... Well, what are we in? Spring right now? He's doing 126 and he did 966. I mean, he's still doing okay, but I don't know if this interior space actually affects how many fish you get, because by all rhyme and reason, then he should be just kind of tearing it up right now compared to this guy, because this guy doesn't have nearly as much water in his little circle, his little force field. That's actually a force field. That's what they don't tell you. That's a force field. So anybody that tries to come through here without fish, it's like wom, 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 punk, and it bounces them back. And that's all there is to it. You just don't get to come into his domicile, his area of operation, unless you've got the proper credentials. We're going to burn down these two houses, which is really going to make the people who live there unhappy. But they can relocate elsewhere. There's extra houses. And just in case there's not, in the case that the game does something kind of weird and decides to screw me, let's put in our first couple stone houses here. We've got 40 right there. This is one of those weird spots where I've got to keep track of the math, because I could kind of wheedle my way through all of the stone that I have, which would be really, really disappointing. We have another death. A miner was killed by a cave-in. Well, that only serves as a minor problem. There, oh man. How long have I been waiting to fire out that joke? Oh boy, that one's been on the cuff for a long, long time. That's been in the cuff so long that it smells like wrist sweat. Anyways, I think we're about at the point where I can break off this episode where it stands. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me at the Nerd Castle for another episode of Banished. This is Helgar's Hole, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow as we further expand things out and make our civilization a bit more robust. Take care out there, everybody, and I do.